Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us again on this month's episode of Boys and Girls Club's Clubcast. I'm your host, Marissa Gleockler, and I'm so happy to be here today with our Chief Operating Officer, Linda Soto. She just recently got this new position, and I'm excited to talk to her a little bit about what that looks like for her, for the organization, and how it's going to impact more and more kids in our community. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's talk through a little bit. I know you've had a plethora of roles within the organization. So let's take me back to the beginning and talk me through.
Okay. So 18 years earlier was when I began in 2006. I started out as a truancy specialist with our now known as A+ attendance program. And so I was working with the school district, overseeing several schools to help reduce school absenteeism. I did that for a while, and in 2013 I had the opportunity to oversee that program, becoming the director of specialized programs. So in that role, I oversaw the entirety of that department and helped grow and develop. So that program at the time, when I first started, we were serving 8 schools, and we are, in my role, we are now serving 15 elementary, that's kindergarten through 5th grade, where we work with the parents, we work with the school to help increase school attendance. After that time frame, I then began overseeing our summer food program in addition to the attendance program, and still am currently doing that, with quickly handing that off to others in my new role. And also I oversaw numerous departments. We had a gang prevention through targeted outreach program. I also oversee now our Voices program, which is a mental health component that is in our clubs. And in August, I became the senior vice president of operations, and now I am the chief operating officer. So yes, I've had a couple of roles within the organization. Oh, and might I add, I oversee was overseeing facilities maintenance and all
you
those
have a very
dynamics.
full plate, yes.
Yes, I have over the years, but I truly love the organization and what it stands for, and my passion is just aligns with the organization.
And how many years total have you been a part of the Boys and Girls Clubs movement?
18 years.
Okay, 18 years.
This past February.
Well, just in the few years that I've been with Boys and Girls Clubs of St. Lucie County, I've seen you go through a few different roles and really had your hands involved in a lot of different big initiatives. So I think that's the kind of well-rounded background you need to be able to take on a role like Chief Operating Officer. So I know internally it's very exciting to see this new leadership and just a new realm, or a new way of approaching operations in our clubs. How have you seen, 18 years is a long time, how have you seen the clubs and the organization grow and change? And obviously our community is growing so much as well, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand sometimes. So how have you seen it grow?
So I have been through 3 CEOs, and during that time it started with Norm Penner, who just did a phenomenal job. He allowed us and worked hard in getting us into the school district, and we have before and after school programs in our school, and that's just been amazing. In fact, other Boys and Girls Clubs across the nation is always, oh, how did you do that? What did what do you did? How did that all come about? And then we had Mike Sancho, who was with us for a brief period of time, and now Will Armstead. And I just truly cannot say enough about Will Armstead. He has taken this organization definitely to another level, and he's definitely put individuals in the right places, and allows me to sit as now the Chief Operating Officer. So the growth not only in the number of locations that we serve, the number of members that we oversee and serve. The staff development, the staff growth has been tremendous, and really putting us in a position to do so much more of already the greatness that we do.
Yeah, we've talked a couple times on this show about Will and his approach to leadership and leading the whole organization, and really the meat and potatoes, the bulk of our 240 or so employees falls under that operations umbrella within our clubs and in our operating teams. So that really speaks to the leadership that exists and the leadership that's coming in, and it's exciting when a CEO and a board and an organization invests back in their people.
And that he does.
Yes.
Definitely so. And I am just honored and humbled to be in this position. I feel that I definitely offer a tremendous amount of growth and leadership. I have the respect of not only the past employees that are still with us, but even the new and upcoming employees that are new to our organization. And that means just so much, you know, gaining respect. And I feel that I've gained that because one of the things that I always focus on is the respect that I give, is the respect I receive. Just happy to be a part of the movement, and definitely in this new role. Excited to see, even for myself, what I'm going to be bringing to the organization. I have a lot of things in plan, and we have a tremendous team to take us to that next level.
And you were, like you mentioned, you were a senior VP before you moved into the COO role. So, and you were a senior VP for a short period of time, but I'm sure in that time you had planning process and you set out some goals for this new role. Can you talk us through some of those goals?
Sure, absolutely. Well, part of the goal is really focusing on the staff, because if the staff have the right mindset to grow and develop, that's what it all is about, you know, and it just makes my job that much easier. So really connecting and making sure our leadership team is connecting with our staff who are in the clubs, who work with the kids on a day-to-day basis. You know, Will says it quite often, and you know, it's a tough job just because you're dealing with so many different dynamics within that, and you're doing it day in and day out. So making sure that their mindset is right, you know, hearing their voices as to what their needs are and their expectations, and how we can support them. So really focusing on that growth development, and making sure that our leadership team is focusing on supporting them. Happy staff make happy members, which grows in our numbers. So.
Awesome, yes. And we talk a lot internally about leading with our why as staff and as teams, and for those who might not quite understand that phrasing, I think the concept behind that is understanding to your core why you're here every day, why you choose to support these kids and the youth throughout the county. So I know that's big and important for you and your leadership style.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about that.
Absolutely. The why plays such a big part because that gives you a sense of purpose. If you know what your why is, you know what your purpose is, which then gives you the motivation to drive even harder in what you do, which the end result is happiness, right? So for me, I come from a case management background. Case management has been my why for many years. I mean, my journey started before I even knew it began, you know. So at the age of 6 till I was 18, my parents had taken in foster children. And so, you know, throughout those years, you know, I had the experience of having children who were in need come into our home, and just saw the foundation and what my parents, you know, without even realizing it, you know, which then gained my interest as I went off to college. In college, I was there on a softball scholarship, but found my way to really taking an interest in the criminal justice background, which led me after college to take a position with Child Protective Services in the state of New York. I did that for 15 years. And although that can be a very difficult field to be in, I found it, in a sense, very rewarding. So I immediately was able to find what my why was. And then coming here to the state of Florida in '06, and entering into the world of Boys and Girls Clubs, it was just, this is my why. You know, my passion is here, my drive is here, and I just want to help our team to really identify what their why is, whether it's a lifetime in the Boys and Girls Club like I have had, or you know, this is their starting point to journey off and do what their experience is.
And then how do you take that why, because obviously the why is different for everybody. They have their own reasons for wanting to be here and help, and how do you take that why and then nurture it and cultivate it into something bigger that they can apply to their position?
So really taking a listen to what their why is. Once that's identified, you know, so we have staff who see them in a different role within the organization. So really helping them identify what areas they need to strengthen in order to eventually find themselves in a position that they're really wanting or seeing themselves in down the road. So it's, you know, everybody wants to be this and everybody wants to be that, but are they willing to put the time in and the effort in and have the right mindset to develop and grow into what they really want?
And we talk about the why so much internally and on an internal basis, but really it's external too, right? Because we have so many supporters and partners within the community that they've got to have a reason they're doing it too, right? So that's their why. How do you feel like our community, what do you think their why is to support Boys and Girls Clubs? How do you think our clubs play a role in the growth and future of our community?
Good question. So I feel that as far as the community goes, when they see, you know, and one of the things, I just want to say this, one of my goals is to really, and we're definitely moving in that direction as an organization, but really get them to see that Boys and Girls Club, because throughout my 18 years, I have heard, oh, it's kind of like a babysitting service, you know? No, we are so much more than a babysitting service. We give the members opportunities that are just not even thinkable at times. We had a group that had the opportunity to go to the Met Stadium during spring break and actually participate in Lindor's training camp. And that was just so awe-stricken for our members, especially those of great interest in baseball and see themselves as baseball players down the road. So as far as the community goes, is their why is because they're seeing what Boys and Girls Clubs are doing. We just had our Youth of the Year event where members, you know, speak about share their story about where they were and where they've come, and in becoming a member of our organization, how much they've grown. And it's just so many, we're in the community, we support the community supports us because of the great stuff that we are doing. And that is just focusing on the growth and development of our members and giving them, exposing them to as many opportunities as possible.
And I think too, the community understands that we couldn't do these things without the community.
Absolutely.
The support is vital. We could not offer opportunities like Francisco Lindor's clinic without the Mets and without other key players in those types of situations. So while it is unique to each organization and each business, you know, I think we do a good job of taking those whys and capitalizing on them and making it the best outcome for our youth.
Absolutely.
And I know aside from the why, we talk a lot about strategic planning, and we talk a lot about, you know, the importance of having a clear-cut plan, not only for us internally, but how it's going to lead to external outcomes and impacts on the community. And I know that, 3 months now into this position, right? You're kind of in that phase. So talk to me a little bit about that and why that's important.
Absolutely. So that was one of the things that I jumped right on and said, I gathered the team and, had some lengthy conversations with Will and, said, I want to focus on the operations of the organization, because right now that's what I'm overseeing is the operations component. And so immediately identifying that our operations is our core, and there's so many offshoots to the core of our organization that my focus, and in fact I just had a meeting this week and gathered all the leaders who I want to bring in. So from the VPs, yourself, from communications to HR, I have leaders and staff who I have seen have that why, have that passion, have that innovative edge. So I've created this team, and we're going to be working on our strategic plan for the operations component right now. And our goal is to identify areas that we want to strengthen, and then making sure that it is passed on, processes, procedures that are put in place to really strengthen what we're already doing.
And how do you think that parents and supporters and things like that are going to be able to visibly see that in the clubs?
So in the direction that we're going, I think they are going to be seeing definitely more hands-on, fun, engaging activities that, we already have these things, but bringing it to another level. Making sure that sometimes the kids will come and, they just spent a full day at school, which is, of importance. The last thing they want to do is come into a club and have to sit down in a structured environment. Obviously, whatever programmings we do is still structured based, but we want more hands-on. Times have changed, and with times changing, we have to adapt and change as well. So really coming up with innovative ways, and I think we've already put our foot in the door and are already bringing some of these great things into play. And that's like we have Charlie carts and STEM carts that we're bringing in that are just going to give more hands-on. So the Charlie carts are more food-based, and they'll be cooking and preparing meals, and our STEM carts are just that innovative science, more experience, and so experiments and that sort of stuff that it's just going to, and it will be a visible notice, I can assure you that. And the safety component too, right, of our clubs. I know that's a really big topic, and just making sure that we have that mentorship piece, we have the programming, but we also have that safety, that safe place for all kids to come after school, before school, during the summer. And I think it's exciting to think that we're just going to keep developing that. Yes. And safety is just a number one priority always, and is just part of our vocabulary. In fact, we have a safety committee, and we are, the committee is actually going out to each of the clubs. We've already began this, and making sure that the environment is safe, and that the staff are reviewing and going over safety procedures as a daily routine, so that if we ever encountered an unsafe environment, that everybody, including the members, know what to do. And even though we have all these fun, exciting programs that are happening and they're a little more outward facing, we do have the hidden gem, I think, of Boys and Girls Clubs that you mentioned, which is A+ attendance. It's something we don't get to talk about very much. I think you're the perfect person to talk about it, because it's something that kind of gets forgotten because it's not as shiny, but it's really important, and it's having a huge impact in our community alongside Children's Services Council and your team that you have in place. So talk to me a little bit about
that whole initiative.
Absolutely, and I definitely want to give a shout out to Children's Services Council, because Boys and Girls Clubs A+ attendance program, I came in the inauguration of that program in 2006, and it is still going strong. We have, as I mentioned before, we're in 15 schools. We focus on kindergarten through 5th grade, and the reason why that age range was focused on is because the ownership and the onus is still very much on the parents. You know, as they get a little bit older, sometimes you have kids who kind of cut school and this, and it gets a little bit more challenging. But here we're focusing on kindergarten through 5th grade. We're able to focus and support the parents in informing them of the school policies and state law, making sure that they feel supported, because sometimes, you know, parents feel a little disconnect. So we're kind of that mediator in between, you know, or supporter for the parent and the school. We work very closely with the schools that we're in you know, trying to identify what the root cause of the absences are and providing the parents with the support that they may need, you know, to assure that their child attends regularly. So we have a very close relationship with the school social workers that we work with in each of our schools. We have monthly meetings within the schools to identify the students that are continuing to have absent attendance issues. We primarily focus on unexcused absences, and unfortunately there are times where this matter needs to be brought to truancy court. So we have 5 attendance advocates, 15 schools we're in, and we have, I would say, pretty much on a daily basis, other schools always asking us, how can we get you in our school? Because the support that we've given and just the partnership we've had with the school district has been tremendous.
And not all, correct me if I'm wrong, but not all 15 of those schools are necessarily schools that we already have existing clubs in. So when we say we have 25 clubs, 17 school clubs throughout the county, that doesn't necessarily include some of these schools that we're serving in other ways with specialized programs, such as A+ attendance.
Yes, that is correct, yes.
Yeah, and that program, I think also CSC, huge component of that, and it also speaks to the partnership that we have with our schools, right? And you talked so heavily about the collaboration that it takes to run these programs. But I think that once again, we're kind of combining efforts within the community to make this possible.
Absolutely. And just as you asked me before, you know, the part that it plays and the impact the community has on our organization and we have in the community, we are always looking and have a tremendous amount of partnerships. Working together is always the better way. There's so many different organizations within our community, and that just enhances what we're trying to do. So the support is definitely always welcomed and appreciative. I don't want to list all of the partners that we have in failure of missing one of them by accident, but it's just tremendous and it makes a huge impact. And that again is just something that, you know, again in Will's leadership, he's played an intricate part in really connecting us with the community, and that has made such a big difference.
Yes, and you mentioned the partnerships, you mentioned the community, the schools, you mentioned Youth of the Year just happened. So I want to, before we leave, I want to make sure that I mention Guatemala coming up, because that is such a huge program, one of those fun, innovative, life-enriching programs that you were referring to. And so we did this last year. Last year, 4 candidates got to go to Guatemala. This year we have 6, which is amazing. And they're going to be going, I think they're leaving on Saturday.
Yes.
So it's right around the corner for spring break. So talk to me a little bit about that and why that's such a big deal.
Oh, well, that's a tremendous deal. Our Youth of the Year candidates had the opportunity to go last year, and we have 3 that are going back again this year. And the experience that not just our members took, our staff brought back was just so tremendous. And it just is an incentive for other members to really have that, who has that experience. I know my daughter and I have always talked about, doing a mission, trip, and this just opens the door for so many opportunities. So them going to Guatemala, the returning members that are going, they're super excited because the members in Guatemala, the group that they were with, are also a part of this. So this one is even more special because the kids, the members from Guatemala as well as here in St. Lucie County got together and they planned the whole experience that they're about to have. And we also had opportunity, parents to attend as well, and we couldn't hear enough about the experience. It was so tremendous.
This is another one of those initiatives and programs that combine so many components of what we do, the partnerships, the workforce readiness, because last year they built stoves. I don't know if they're doing, I know they're doing a similar hands-on project. I don't know if it's stoves, but, and then that community service piece, and just life enriching, once in a lifetime opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten.
Absolutely.
And they'll be there for a week?
They will be there for a week, yes.
That's very exciting.
Yes.
Well, I know that throughout the whole Youth of the Year program, I think we all get excited and kind of anticipate this trip and what's going to come from it. So I know we're excited to see all 6 candidates and how they are over there, and how they like the experience, especially alongside the staff, like you mentioned, and their family members that get to go alongside them and their peers. I think we're just really excited to see what happens.
Absolutely. And before, I just want to share this. So last night we had the opportunity to participate in the school district's board meeting, and our Youth of the Year members were recognized, and our winner, Enrique Rosario, he was able to give his speech. And at the end of his speech, Dr. Prince Superintendent Prince, forgive me, had approached him and gave him a certificate because Enrique wants to be a teacher. So he has a promissory certificate to be given a position once he graduates from college to be a teacher here in St. Lucie County. So, I mean, I think that just kind of blew the minds of everybody in the crowd, and it was just so nice to see. I mean, he was asked to speak at an array of different graduations coming up, and so yes, it's, and so as you see, I get so excited.
Yes, and so well deserved. It speaks to the program, again, speaks to the partnership. This whole episode really came full circle with the partnerships and the why and the community, and so I thank you. I'm excited for you and your new position and your new role, and I know we're going to see some amazing things, and the community will see it as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for watching, and if you have any interest in learning more about anything that we talked about, whether it be the Youth of the Year program, the trip to Guatemala, any of the exciting initiatives that we have coming up, events, etc., you're always encouraged to visit our website, is www.bgcofslc.org, or visit any of our 25 locations throughout St. Lucie County. But with that, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next month.